If you're looking for your next immersive binge, you might want to check out Paradise on Hulu. It's got tons of surprises and an excellent cast, so let's jump in. When a shocking murder occurs in a serene community inhabited by some of the world's most prominent individuals, tranquility explodes and a high-stakes investigation unfolds. Okay, so the first 3 episodes are dropping at once, and then it'll be a weekly release for the remaining episodes. And just like the synopsis stated, this takes place in an idyllic community. It actually looks like some of the sets are from Gilmore Girls, because the town square looks a ton like Stars Hollow. So that gives you an idea about how quaint and picturesque this community can appear. Now, the series has some heavy hitters in the cast. Sterling K. Brown, James Marsden, Julianne Nicholson, Sarah Shahi, Gerald McRaney, and Cassidy Freeman. Now, for this, I'm going to have to be vague on plot points because I've seen the first 7 episodes, and there are a ton of surprises and cliffhangers the series introduces that I in no way want to spoil. Now, Brown is excellent in this role. His gruff and even stoic demeanor that I've seen him display in other roles, it fits perfectly with what he has to do in Paradise. He's quiet and brooding, but also compassionate, funny, and a caring dad. I mean, he's the character you want to root for, even if you don't always agree with him. His natural charm and likability, it translates easily, creating a protagonist we continually want to see. James Marsden is excellent in this as well, but he's slightly goofy, not oafish or stupid, and he's just got this sense of humor and a disarming charm that can make him instantly endearing. Now, for the character, he's pretty much a straight shooter, direct and commanding, which sometimes can come across as cool or detached, but thanks to the emotion that Marsden carries in his eyes, he softens any bristling and empathizes without even having to say a word. With Julianne Nicholson, she craftily maintains a massive air of secrecy to her persona. She's stern and decisive, but also not devoid of emotion. It's tough to know exactly where some people stand with her, while at other times it's perfectly obvious as to the disdain or impatience that she has for some. And I love how our character interacts with both Marsden and Brown. Each has a unique dynamic that sets up some incredibly entertaining drama. With Sarah Shahi, she tries to make her character seem mysterious or maybe selective in the vibe that she gives off. But I think the writing gives more away to her motives than it intends to. I mean, I still like how her character works within the cast, adding complexity to relationships and then sometimes unbalancing a power structure, and that can lead to some fun surprises for other characters. And because of the nature of her character, we want to like her, which is exactly how she's portrayed and comes across. And she's also somebody to not discount, like several of the others within this series too. Just because we're shown vulnerabilities doesn't mean we know the full depths of a person, and that goes for many within the cast. Now, the plot in this doesn't divulge all of the background up front. In fact, it takes until episode 7 to really get the full picture of all the history that brought us to the events within the first episode. Now, that may sound like a huge negative. Truly, though, we get so much character and world building throughout the other episodes that, as funny as it sounds, it's great to have this piece of the story held back until so late in the season. And by the time we get to this moment, the setups and the drama have been working their way to a climax, leaving the series to reveal a ton in a way that had my heart beating and my butt at the very edge of my seat. Now, the pacing for this is also set to keep momentum at a high level while still giving the story time to breathe and methodically examine areas of the plot and the characters. It's not coming at us at breakneck speeds constantly, but it's balanced well so the stress of situations and urgency that characters encounter work to keep the story from slogging through a lull. Now, I love how this series feels like how some thrillers used to. Not the weekly procedural where every episode is just this contained storyline, but a plot that continued through an entire season, or even the whole show. And a small portion of this held a similar level of excitement and anticipation that the first season of Lost did. Now, I'm not saying this is anything like that show other than as each episode ended, I was salivating for more, but hopefully this one isn't going to fumble the arc like Lost ended up doing and just ruin this thing. Now, a lot of the draw of this comes because the story structure is filled with intrigue, capitalizing on both mystery and deception. And that could be from the scenarios or the people. The show uses a simple setup to create a complicated web that the entire narrative can then branch out from. Thankfully, the writing doesn't get so cocky that it becomes convoluted and we have all these sorts of rogue plots playing out that distract from the main point of the show. I mean, the murder mystery, it's at the core, with a few additional elements tied directly to it. I like that there's not a lot of fluff within the show, and there's not too much extraneous information or scenes to bog it down. That being said, though, there are some times that have me wondering why certain characters get the attention they do, or why some characters feel like they could be important to the story, but are absent so often they mostly feel forgotten. Now, Brown's kids are a huge motivator for his character, but his son often seems to be left by the wayside. I mean, I get it. They can only focus on so much before the entire thing feels haphazard and spread thin. But because of the dynamic of Brown and then the kid, along with their background development that we get, I just figured that he'd be slightly more integral to the story. There are also plot conveniences that allow characters to get away with actions that have to happen in order to propel the story forward. Now, sometimes these are believable. Other times they feel contrived, making it a little too easy for something to be accomplished, especially given the gravity of some of the circumstances. I mean, none of these are show-ruining problems, but they can become noticeable and then impact the plausibility of certain actions. Now, as I said, I've seen 7 of the episodes, with Hulu holding back the final one, which is then set to air in March. Now, maybe they know they got a solid show on their hands and they want everybody to experience the finale at the same time. Or maybe they just didn't give it to me. I don't know. As long as the show doesn't completely fall apart in episode 8 and then create an absolute turd, this is a riveting thriller that captures so much energy and complexity that each episode should have you coming back week to week, ready to dive into more. I mean, these are meaty episodes too. They're each about 50 minutes, so it doesn't feel useless to watch week to week. Now, I am still a huge fan of a binge session, but once you start this, you probably aren't going to want to miss a week. So overall, Paradise is an exciting thrill ride, taking an often used premise and creating a unique scenario around it, then filling the story with endearing, enigmatic, secretive, and potentially dangerous characters, all bent on either keeping secrets or exposing truths. Sterling K. Brown is excellent in the lead role, bringing a quiet ferocity and determination to his character, using honor and resolve to drive his inquiries. With tight storytelling, a captivating plotline, and solid mystery, this thriller is sure to earn a spot in your weekly binge. There's sex, tiny bit of nudity, a lot of profanity, and a bunch of violence. I give Paradise 4.5 out of 5 couches. Like I said, as long as I don't screw the pooch on the finale, this will stay as an awesome series. So have you seen any good thrillers or mysteries lately? I'd love to hear about them in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.